Hello all, welcome to my channel. How you guys doing? I just came with a quick video. A lot of people know about Casper. We grew up watching Casper, and it just dawned on me, like, we know he's a ghost, but what really happened to him? And I was like, well, let me do this little quick video. So hopefully that you guys like this video. Like and subscribe. Hit me with your comments, and let's get into it. Casper is the lead character of the famous studio's animated cartoon Casper the Friendly Ghost. He is a pleasant and translucent ghost who is often criticized by his three wicked uncles, the Ghostly Trio. He was featured in 55 cartoons made between 1945 and 1959. He was also featured in comic books published by Harvey Comics since 1952, and Harvey purchased the character outright in 1959. This made Casper one of Harvey's most popular characters, headlining dozens of comic book titles. He was featured in 55 cartoons made between 1945 and 1959. He was also featured in comic books published by Harvey Comics since 1952, and Harvey purchased the character outright in 1959. This made Casper one of Harvey's most popular characters, headlining dozens of comic book titles. Casper was created in the late 1930s by Seymour Wright and Joe Oriolo. He made his first appearance in a children's book in 1939. Initially intended as a basis for a 1939 children's book, there was first little interest in the idea. When Wright was away on military service during World War II before the book was even released, Oriolo sold the rights to the book to Paramount Pictures Animation Division for $175. Now, this one-time payment was all that he received, missing out on a share of the revenue earned from the films, comic books, and merchandise to come. The first noveltoon to feature Casper was called The Friendly Ghost. It was released by Paramount in 1945 with a few differences from the book. Now, in the cartoon, he is a cute ghost child with a New York accent who inhabits a haunted house along with a community of adult ghosts who enjoy scaring the living. Casper is very different from the rest of the ghosts. He would prefer to make friends with people. He got so sick of it that he just packed up his belongings and he went out into the world hoping to find friends. However, he do come across a lot of animals and people, and as soon as they see him, they take a horrified look at him, scream a ghost, and run off in the other direction. Now, a distraught Casper unsuccessfully attempts to commit suicide. It did hurt his feelings. Imagine how you would feel, but he's already a ghost. He's already dead, but he's a kid. So he felt like he could just go ahead and commit suicide, but it hurt his feelings. So his plan was to just lay down on a railroad track before an oncoming train, and he figured he could just end it all. But while attempting to do so, he meets two children named Bunny and Johnny who became his friends. They both took Casper to meet their mom, and at first she is frightened of Casper, but she later on welcomed him into the family after he unintentionally frightens off a greedy landlord who eventually gives her the house. Casper basically became family after that, and in the episode it ended with the mother kissing Johnny, Bunny, and Casper as she sends them off to school. And it's so crazy because Casper was wearing clothes as if he was a living child again. Casper appeared in two more subsequent cartoons, There's a Good Booze Tonight and A Hunting We Will Go. Now, There's a Good Booze Tonight different from the later Casper cartoons because the tone of it just turns remarkably dark. It starts with a hunter and his dog appearing, chasing a little fox cub named Ferdy. Now, this is the sad part. Casper has already befriended Ferdy. They're pretty much good buddies. And although Casper scares the hunter and the dogs away, he soon discovers that Ferdy is dead. After that long chase, he eventually died. Something happened. And this left Casper extremely sad. He has no friends, and he finally found one, and there it is. He's gone. So sad. But later on, Ferdy does return as a ghost to join his friend Casper in the afterlife. So he came back. That should be a good thing. These were later adapted into noveltoons before Paramount started a Casper the Friendly Ghost series in 1950 and ran the theatrical series until the summer of 1959. Although having much success, the series was later criticized by animation historians and viewers, mainly due to the story of each entry of the series as being the same. You have Casper. He escapes the afterlife of a regular ghost, but he finds that scaring people can be tiresome year after year. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So he tries to find friends, but scares almost everyone. And finally, he finds a friend whom he saves from some sort of fate, leading to his acceptance by those who were initially scared of him. And that can kind of get repetitive, but you got to think about it. Ghosts are really predicted as just mean. They there to scare you, but Casper's really different. So I can kind of see where people were coming from with it, but he's the friendly ghost, so it's going to kind of be the same, but you do have to switch it up just a little bit. Now, let's talk about Casper's uncles, the Ghostly Trio. The Ghostly Trio consists of Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky. They are fictional characters appearing in Harvey Comics. They're also well known for being Casper's uncles, like I said before. Their first animated appearance was in The Friendly Ghost. When Casper was translated into Harvey Comics, the characters were redesigned to make them a little more mischievous than terror-inspiring. Like I said earlier, ghosts are just terrible looking. You watch a lot of horror films. You don't see a whole lot of friendly ones, so that's what they tried to do with the Ghostly Trio. These characters made numerous Harvey Comics appearances and were featured in the title Casper and the Ghostly Trio. Now, versions of the Ghostly Trio remain prominent in many spin-offs. First, we'll talk about Stretch. Stretch is the lanky leader of the trio with a thick Boston accent. He is the most aggressive at scaring the living by morphing his body. However, he is said to be highly experienced at possession. Although he acts the harshest, he is soon to be revealed to have a soft spot and is perhaps the most sensible in making important decisions. He does seem like he's the ringleader. In a deleted song, he claims to be schizoid, and despite his intelligence, he can be very childish at times. I can see that. Now, Fatso is the obese one. He's the youngest of the trio, and his powers are flight, invisibility, and he is assumed to be the least intelligent. I can kind of see that, but I get it from the other one. And last but not least, we have Stinky. He is the middle child. His special talent involves supernatural halitosis and body odor, which he prefers as his means of frightening flesh eaters who cross his path. He comes off as a sarcastic jokester, which Stretch gets tired of him more often than not, and I can tell he probably does because he's pretty much the goofy one. Casper's Haunted Christmas shows his interest in modern technology, although just as nasty as his brother, Stinky appears on cinema posters as a friendly face. The Ghostly Trio are shown to be a very powerful and experienced group of ghosts. Their supernatural powers are intangibility, invisibility, teleportation, flight, possession, which supposedly they hold the record for the longest possessions, matter transmutation, shape-shifting, and other forms of reality warping. Originally, Casper was featured on the show with ghost relatives who looked similar and like to scare people. But these relatives did not appear to have any special traits or serve any other purpose. In Casper's early appearances in Harvey Comics, the Ghostly Trio were depicted differently, although they were brothers. Fatso was overweight, although as ghosts were capable of eating in early stories, this trait was just not as odd as it's later seen. At the time, he was the trio's leader, as the toughest and the smartest of the three. Fatso's second in command was Fusso. He was portrayed as an average height, build, and was characterized as exceptional fussiness and attention to detail. Nagging, probably. And the third ghost, Lazo. He was the tallest, the laziest, and least intelligent. They try to make him seem stupid. Fatso's brashness and quick temper often led him into mishaps, and as well as occasional role in one of the ghost adventures. Fusso and Lazo were often sometimes called the Ghostly Duo in his absence. Now, the names of the ghosts just didn't really seem to set in stone. Like, it just didn't ring a bell. It just wasn't there, apparently, which I can understand why. Now, in the missing hunts, their names were Eco, Stretcho, and Fatso, which is kind of the same, but it just got to have the O on it, I guess. Now, here's a fun fact I didn't know. I don't know if you guys knew about it, but Fatso's appearance, voice, and love for food makes him comparable to Slimer. Slimer is an apparition from Ghostbusters. Now, in 1987, Harvey Comics sued Columbia Pictures, the film's distributor, for $50 million, claiming that the iconic Ghostbusters logo was just too reminiscent of Fatso, which I can kind of see. And as you can see in these pictures, I can kind of see it. The court ruled in Columbia's favor due to Harvey's failure to renew the copyrights on early Casper stories and the limited ways to draw a figure of a cartoon ghost. So yeah, they was out on $50 million. But that was definitely a nice little comparison. I can see it, but they took an L on that one. For some people, such as myself and my people in my age group, we were introduced to Casper in 1995. That's when I first saw Casper. I had it on tape. I remember that. But the film included actors such as Christina Ricci, who played Kat, and Bill Pullman, who played Dr. Harvey. In this Casper, motherless Kat Harvey and her father, a psychologist who helped Spirit complete their journeys onto death, move into Whipstaff Manor. Kerrigan has hired Dr. Harvey to get rid of the recently inherited property of its ghost so she can hunt for the so-called hidden treasure hidden within its walls. One of those ghosts is Casper, and he develops a bond with Kat, and he also has a crush on her. He really did like her. I remember that in the movie. The other three ghosts are his rowdy uncles, who enjoy making life comically difficult for everyone, as we saw. When the Harveys throw a Halloween party, Kat and Casper discover a resurrection machine, and I think it was the Lazarus, if I'm not mistaken, built by Casper's father, and as well as the so-called quote-unquote treasure. Kerrigan wants the machine for herself for her wicked plans, and eventually there's a mad chase in and out of spirit worlds and around the house. In the end, Casper faces a tough choice. It'll be his life or Dr. Harvey's. And it's kind of difficult because he's been wanting to be human again for the longest, and he's a kid, but he has to, sacrifice. So anybody who watched that, I'm not going to give too much, but we're just going to go over a few fun facts. Here are a few other fun facts about the 1990 version of Casper. Casper never really knew his mom. In the movie, we learned that he didn't never meet her. He never knew who she was. He knew of her. Casper's mom died during child labor, and she actually had to leave her husband to care for Casper alone. It's not her fault, but that's what happened. He never really knew his mother. Casper had no last name until the movie. Throughout the comic and the cartoon world, Casper has always been known as either Casper or Casper the Friendly Ghost. So he never really had a reason to have a last name, if anybody never noticed that. But that's kind of crazy. Casper died young, leaving his father alone. While Casper is helping Kat find a dress, he remembers how he died. And I don't know if anybody remember that they were in the attic. After begging his dad for a sled, he spent all day and night outside in the snow. Even though his father asked him to come in, he still wanted to stay outside. It's just, he's a kid. So come nightfall, Casper got sick and his dad got quote-unquote sad. It sounds like Casper had died from pneumonia. Knowing how sad his dad was after losing his mom and now his son, Casper decided to stay with him as a ghost instead of crossing over so that his dad wasn't lonely anymore. So that's pretty sad. After his death, Casper's dad went insane. Casper's dad began creating machines to bring back the dead back to human form. Many people missed the newspaper article explaining that Casper's dad went crazy. It's a certain scene where Kat is holding the newspaper, and I know you could probably see it in the clip of the picture that I have up. But he actually went crazy, and he has nobody. But knowing how desperate he was to see his wife and son again, he would have done anything. So that's why he created those machines. He was pretty much left by himself. So it's kind of understandable why he did go crazy, because it was just the last little piece of family that he had that we know of. Dr. Harvey isn't doing well either. He drags his daughter all around the U.S. to bring back the dead as a way to get in contact with his late wife. James becomes despondent after the trio pull a prank on him, prompting them to take him out on the town. They plan on killing him to make themselves a quartet, but have a change of heart after the drunken therapist declares he will tell Kerrigan off and they can stay in their home. However, James accidentally falls to his death down a manhole. Anybody remember that part? That was sad. Now let's go back to Kerrigan for a second. Kerrigan attempts to run Dibs over, but instead she crashes into a cliffside tree. While exiting her Range Rover, she falls to her death and rises as a ghost. Now while she's a ghost, she goes back to the laboratory and she confronts Casper and Kat. And she was stealing what she believes to be the so-called treasure that she's been looking for within its walls from the vault. She also launched Dibs out of a window when he tries to double-cross her. Now, Casper and Kat trick Kerrigan into saying that she has no unfinished business on Earth, which caused her to eject herself into the afterlife. Now, the treasure is revealed to be Casper's prize baseball signed by Duke Snider, and the map was part of a game that Casper played with his father. James, Mr. Harvey, is now a ghost, and he returns with Casper's uncles, and he was drunk as crap. I do remember that. He was acting crazy. And in cat's despair over these prompts, Casper decided to sacrifice his one chance to return to life and restoring her father's instead. He felt like, it's my only opportunity, but I see how it makes her feel, because he really likes her, and brought the dad back. Now, this is the short story of Casper, the friendly ghost that we never really asked questions about. We just knew it. They brought it to us, but he has a lot of history going back, and it's kind of cool to really know where he came from. But yeah, these are some of the questions I had, like, how did he die? What happened? But I hope that since they're doing a whole bunch of remakes, they should redo Casper. Hopefully they don't mess it up, but they should redo it. That concludes this video. I hope you guys liked it. I tried to get as much information as I could. Try to make it to where I wasn't reading as much, to kind of customize it. But I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.